And welcome to Hi and welcome to my Melo Story. My name's Trudy Kaumba Fula and I'm a fashion designer. I sing a bit and what else do I do? I'm an author to be, so I've written a book which is not yet published. I don't even know what I'm waiting for, but maybe time. I'm not yet ready to release the book. So I'm here to share about my journey and my prayer is that as I talk, one or two people will be encouraged. And if there's a person that's ever thought God doesn't exist, after listening to my story, maybe you might just have faith in God and know that God exists. In 2018, I got mentally ill, and it's something that I didn't expect would happen to me. Um, I'm a person that was known to be an iron lady, so they say. I'm a person that's known to be very strong in many ways, and I'm a person that never used to share information, whether I'm going through good or bad times. It would be very difficult for someone to know. So I lost land in 2018 upon arriving in Livingstone, where I thought I was going to build a house, and the person I left to look after my land gave my land to someone else. There was a lot of things that happened, and before I knew it, I lost land, and all the money that I saved, I ended up using it. So in 2 years, I was not working. I was just using my savings. So after my savings finished, and when I wanted to move on with life, I couldn't because I felt the loss of a land was a big blow to me. So little by little, I didn't know that I was drowning in depression. So the first thing I noticed that I stopped talking to people. I'm a person that never used to talk to people a lot though before my incident happened. So I started locking myself in the house. I stopped talking to people. When I go to the market, I'll just come lock myself in the house. The only time I would talk to people is on social media. When I'm just on Facebook, I'll chat to people with people. I never told most of my family members what was happening to me. So, like I said, I started drowning in depression, and I never shared what I was going through inside me. Before I knew it, I stopped bathing. I stopped even sweeping the house. I'd sweep the house after 3 or 4 days. I stopped cooking. The project I had was going down as well. And I didn't know that I was even depressed actually. So one day I was on Facebook and I just felt like I was electrocuted and I fell down. I was on phone. I was on Facebook chatting with a friend. I don't know what she told me. So before responding, I just felt like electricity had just hit me. I felt like I got burned the whole body. When I looked at myself, I felt I was black or something. Then I started crawling on the floor, going to the door, telling people that electricity had shocked me. So they started laughing because sometimes I'll joke around. So they thought it was a joke. I said, Trudy, stop joking. So before I knew it, I came in the house and I started saying things that were full of nonsense. So I lost it. And, people started gathering at home saying she has gone mad, this and that. I started insulting. Before I knew it, I started taking off my clothes. And cut long story short, that's how I locked myself in the house for 3 days. So one of the ladies I was working with in the project that I had for a skills center, which I was doing at the house where I was renting, um, called my sister. And she just entered the house, and that's how I opened. So she got my phone and she called my sister to tell her what had happened. And my nephew sent money, and that's how I was taken to, before I was even taken to Lusaka. A day after I just got mentally, I would even go on live on Facebook and talk about myself and things I was feeling. This is why I say social media is very useful. It's very positive, sometimes it can be negative. There are a lot of people that are reaching out using social media, and a lot of people don't know how to handle certain things. So for me, when I was posting the things I was posting, even the nonsense I was posting, no one could pick that I had gone mentally ill, because I would still write proper English. But then just so cut long story short, that's how I was taken back to Lusaka, and I was taken to Chinama. So they put me on medication. I kept on having episodes after a few weeks, after a month or so. So I've been on medication. This is my fifth year. So I would be in and out of the hospital. And one thing I've learned about my condition is I really wanted to get healed. I remember there was a time when I said, "Leza mwalimu pata." With all the things that I've gone through, you would have spared me from getting mentally ill. The other thing you should know is that when you're mentally ill, you don't know that you're mentally ill. But for me, it took time. I just used to know that there was something wrong with me, but I didn't know that it was mental illness. It was after that's when I heard people talking. And as people were talking, a lot of things were said about me. Some were saying I had gotten into Satanism. Some were saying Narefwa Okuisonga, so that Ingwine, and so much was said. Some said Narifwa kuingira mu buloshi. Some said Narira na bamukabene na penya. And you notice that everyone had their own interpretation about my sickness. So even that brought a lot of pain to me, because I was able to hear what people were saying, and listening to what people were saying, the horrible things that they would conclude about me. It made me sad a lot, because I'm a person that loves God a lot, and not knowing the cause of my sickness made me go into a research about myself. So I started asking God to say what really made me get sick. But as usual, we speak to God differently. Others would listen to God through the word. I would listen to God through the voice. And it's the time where I learned about the four voices in life: the voice of God, the voice of man, as in when people talk. That's a voice. It's a voice that can affect your thinking. It can build you or destroy you because of what someone said. Because I discovered that this negative energy that I was listening to would bring this bad feeling about what I was feeling. And just hearing someone say "Alefo kuingira Satanism," to me it was like a big word. I would call it, I felt like bad in finger. But how do you tell people to, how can you go and announce to people to say what you're thinking is not what happened? So, cut long story short, I started researching about my life. I said, what really made me sick? At some point, I even believed that I was bewitched. And the worst part, you would not believe, the person that was looking after me is my elder sister. One day, she held my receipt for the review that we were supposed to go to, because as a mentally ill person, I experienced voices. So there were times whereby I would hear voices. I'm sure maybe you've seen people that talk on their own who are mentally ill, or maybe they're experiencing some mental health disorders. I don't know if others go through that, but then I went through that, where I was talking to myself, and I would hear like I'm talking to people, but I'm alone. So this voice just told me to say, go to the bedroom. Then I found my sister holding a paper in the hands. I want to talk to people that believe that mental illness comes sometimes with uburoshi or maybe witchcraft. So I would want to correct that, because I'm a person that also believed in that. But after research, I discovered that some things we believe in, tulalubasana, and we brought a lot of enmity in our families. Mwamba nokusontana to say maybe ni wachita wana mchita. So especially mental illness, it comes with that. People, when there's a person who's mentally ill per family, people would go and look for reasons to say maybe one of the relatives wants to get rich, or maybe one of the relatives is the one that did this or that. So I found her with this paper, and she was looking at the date, saying, checking when our next review was. And then the voices in it started telling me to say, she's the one bewitching you. Why is she holding your paper? Then when she saw me, she got the paper and just put it aside. So from there, that thought remained in me. I didn't tell her that the voices were talking to me saying she was a witch. So immediately that happened, I changed the way I was behaving towards her. And I even started telling people that my sister is the one that bewitched me. And everywhere we went, I started telling people. So no one knew what was happening to me and where it came from. So it was because of the voices I was hearing. So I ended up calling my sister, excuse me, a witch. And this is a person that was looking after me. I was in her house. She went through that pain, she went through that shame, but she did not even say, um, I'm letting go of you because you are saying this, you are disgracing me or anything. People were looking at her as a witch, and it was so bad. After I got my sanity back, it was a matter of doing a lot of damage control just to make her understand, to say, look, what happened is the voices I was hearing, and this is what happened to me. So, cut a very long story short, it's not always that mental illness comes with witchcraft. Sometimes it's trauma. Like in my case, it was trauma. Growing up, I went through a lot of things. You talk about the girl child going through abuse, as in verbally. I went through abuse, as in work-wise. When growing up, you do a lot of chores, and for you to just survive, you just do so much. Like I started staying alone when I was 14 years old. And looking after yourself at a very young age, I think played a major role negatively on me. And apart from that, I went through rape more than once. I had been raped, and all the other things that I was facing, I was dealing with them alone. Some of the things I had gone through in life, I never told any of my relatives. I was fighting them mentally alone. So you find that trauma was there. It was not dealt with. As a result, losing my land was just a part of what really caused my illness. So mental illness, I always say, it starts with love and it ends with love. So what you invest in yourself is very important. And this time when I look at myself, I don't really consider myself strong. I thank God for the grace, because having gone through what I've gone through in life and having overcome mental illness to a point where it's now controlled, I would have ended up on the street like everyone else. I remember like one incident when I had a very major episode. Na didi hapo mu Limatawa mudia. I've passed in Limatawa bus stop. I've eaten in those bins, as bins, the dust bins. I would go looking for food. There was one day I ran away from home. No one knew where I was. And what really shocks me is the way things work. A dog knows if it hasn't gotten food from its master, it will know that the food is in the dustbin. It will go mufishala. When you look at abantu abalwala mentally, if they don't get food from their homes or from begging, they would always go mufishala. So I keep wondering, to say, what really came on to me to know that I would find food in the dustbin. So I just switched. After feeling hungry, there was no one I knew that day because my family didn't know where I was. I just went in the dustbins and speaking very good English. I was there. No one even knew who I was. Everyone was minding their business. I was minding my business. Started going bin to bin looking for food, and cut long story short, luckily they found me. And one good part I thank God about my sister. I keep saying my sister because she's the one that was in the forefront to ensure that I was safe despite this illness. Abantu bamuzanga ati happening, it's because family sometimes will neglect you. They get tired because you when you are mentally ill, there's a lot that you make your family go through. Like for instance, sometimes when I have an episode, I used to be very violent. I remember there was a day I nearly threw a hot pot of beans at my sister, the same one that was looking after me. So some people would give up on you because of the things they are going through. I'm grateful to God that she never gave up on me, and like a mom, she's just like being a mother who couldn't just see me end up in the dustbin and whatnot. I wish a lot of people would do that for their family members, because I now believe that mental illness can be, it may not be cured. Like I have been diagnosed with schizophrenia. It's believed that you can't get healed, but you can maintain it or you can control it, so to speak. So there are times these days where I look at people that are mentally ill. Sometimes I even feel like if family can constantly um, put in effort, abantu balawelela munomo, here I am. I just operate like any other normal person. The only difference is the way I live. For example, I've had to adjust a lot to a lot of things around my life. Like I can't get too tired. I can't be in a place that's too noisy. I can't stress. I need to be in a very peaceful environment. There are so many things that have changed. And before I knew how to maintain myself, even sometimes without medication, there are so many things that I was noticing about myself. So there's hope for people that are feeling you're going through so much now. And there are certain people that would call me, and you get to say, "Usho muntu akapola." I'm a living testimony, because this is not how I was. If you met me the time I was mentally ill, I became a shadow of myself. I lost weight. The way I was looking, so I thank God that He has restored my life. And one other thing I remember was worrying about a lot of things. One of the things that used to worry me was like, I got sick when I was single. And I said, how will I then manage to get married? You know, sometimes with these things that are tagged to our lives, not because you ask for it. Mental illness is not something that you ask for. You least expect. And for me, it was the last thing I thought would happen to me. So mental health can happen to anyone. So I would say, but you know how people talk. If they can talk while you are sick, what more when it comes to that? So you are scared. But you know, it happened. Later I got married, and life is going on. I didn't stop my designing. I remember even the time I was mentally ill. For me, luckily, I would still design, and I would sit on the machine to make clothes. And when it gets worse, sort of, they'll take me back to the hospital here and there. And I've had to literally start life from zero in the past 5 years. And I must say that starting life all over when you were somewhere is not very easy. So it's been a life of adjusting and acceptance, accepting what happened to you, and moving forward. You need to have also a heart of starting again, and you need to push. You just can't say, okay, Vinanchitikila, and then you just sit and nothing will happen. So anything I want to be anytime from now, it's something I'm building. So in conclusion, all I would say is um, we are hit differently in life. So I would say when you fall down in real life, when you fall down, you are going somewhere, you fall down, you don't stay on the ground to say, because I've fallen, so I'll stay here. No. You kunkumula yourself, you wipe your dirt, and you start moving again. And that's what life is, because sometimes you just don't know what is going to hit you. And some things that hit us, we don't plan them, we don't expect them. But when they happen, what you need to do is just pick yourself up and go on with the race. One thing I've also learned about God is that you can have a clear-cut picture of where you want to be 2-3 years from now, but He would not let you know some of the things that you are going to encounter along the way. So even when you encounter a setback, it's not for you to stop moving. Maybe kuchinja a strategy, but the goal should be the same to get to where you want to be. Yeah, so that's what I would share about my Melo story. Um, if you want more information, you can reach out to me. And if you have someone that is sick, someone you feel you've lost hope. And something I must mention is that prayer also helped me a lot. I'm a person that used to seek God a lot, and the word of God was my water, so to speak. So I used to speak a lot of good things in my life. I used to speak positive things, and I've noticed that positive energy is very important to your mental health. So ensure that you stay positive no matter what you face in life, and put God first. He always comes through.